If you ever see a house with all its Christmas lights still burning after 3 a.m., don't slow down. Because some houses aren't decorating for Christmas. They're fishing. The first time Mason saw the house on Pine Hollow Road, he thought it looked like a catalog page exploded. It was December 22nd, the kind of cold that stuck to your lungs when you breathed. His dad's old Ford creaked around the bend, and suddenly the trees dropped away. There it was. The house sat alone at the end of the road, wrapped in thousands of tiny white lights. Not just the basic strings, either. Every window was perfectly framed. The gutters dripped with icicle bulbs. The bushes were wrapped so evenly they looked printed. The big maple in the front yard spiraled with red and gold all the way to the top, crowned with a star that burned like a little piece of the sun. The rest of the neighborhood looked normal. A plastic Santa here, a blow-up snowman there. This place looked like it didn't belong in their small town at all. "Whoa," Mason whispered. "When did they put all that up?" His mom frowned at the windshield. "Nobody lives there, sweetheart." "Yeah, but somebody decorated it." Mason twisted in his seat to keep it in sight as they drove past. He'd been down Pine Hollow Road plenty of times. That house had always been an empty rectangle of dark wood and sagging porch boards. Now there was a life-sized nativity scene on the lawn. The wise men's robes rippled in the wind like real fabric. The angel over the manger had wings made of light, each feather separate, each one glowing. "Probably some investor trying to flip it," his stepdad grunted from the driver's seat. "People'll do anything to sell a house in December." Mason watched the angel until the trees swallowed it. He didn't say it out loud, but he noticed something his parents didn't. Every figure in that nativity scene had its head bowed, except the baby. The tiny glowing face in the manger was turned directly toward the road, watching him leave. He couldn't stop thinking about it. At dinner, while his little sister argued about whether Santa could beat the Grinch in a fight, Mason kept seeing that burnt white glow in his head. By the time he finished his homework, curiosity was crawling around under his skin like ants. It was a 20-minute walk to Pine Hollow Road. He grabbed his coat. "Where are you going?" his mom called from the couch, where Christmas music hummed under the sound of a Hallmark movie. "Just to Tyler's. We're trading games." "Be home in an hour," she said automatically. The cold hit him in the face like a wall. His breath poured out in steam as he cut across backyards and empty lots, his boots crunching through crusted snow. The farther he went, the quieter it got. The sounds of cars and people faded, swallowed by trees and distance. By the time he reached Pine Hollow Road, his nose was numb and his fingertips ached. But when he saw the house, he forgot about being cold. It was even brighter alone in the darkness. The lights didn't shimmer or twinkle like other houses. They burned steady, unwavering. The air around the house looked pale, washed out by all that white. Mason stopped just outside the property line. No fence, no "for sale" sign, no footprints in the snow at all. The yard was perfectly smooth and white, like nobody had stepped there since the last snowfall. Which made no sense. There were decorations everywhere. Someone should have left tracks. His gaze moved to the nativity scene. Up close, it was strange. The wise men's faces were smooth, features suggested but not detailed. The shepherd's eyes were little oval impressions. The angel's mouth was just a hint of a curve. But the baby in the manger, its face was sharp and clear. Tiny nose, tiny lips, eyes half open. The closer he looked, the more it seemed like those eyes were following him. "Okay," he muttered. "That's creepy." He told himself it was just high-end decorations, rich people stuff. The kind his mom liked to look at online and complain about. Something flickered at the edge of his vision. On the front porch, a string of red bulbs chased themselves along the railing, racing around and around. But there was no pattern. They moved like something thinking, testing. The hair on the back of his neck stood up. "Hello?" he called, instantly regretting it. His voice sounded small in the frozen air. The house did not answer, but the star on top of the maple tree flared a little brighter. The light washed across the yard, bright enough that he had to squint. For just a second, the shadows between the decorations seemed to deepen, stretch, lean toward him. Mason took a step back. His boot slipped. He went down on one knee, his hand slamming into the snow. It should have been powdery and loose. But it felt thick, heavy, like wet sand. When he pulled his hand back, a fine glitter clung to his skin, sparkling under the lights. Not snow. He rubbed it between his fingers. It looked like the stuff they used in fake snow globes. Plastic. Artificial. He straightened slowly, his heart pounding. That's when he felt it. Not the wind, not the cold. A pressure on the front of his chest, exactly where he was wearing his hoodie. A tug, gentle at first, like someone pinching the fabric and pulling. But there was no one there. The tugging grew stronger. Every light on the house flared at the same time. The pressure jumped from his chest to inside his ribs, like a hook had slipped past his skin and caught on something deeper. He stumbled backward, gasping, and the feeling snapped. Mason turned and ran. He didn't look back, not once, not even when the lights behind him brightened the road like headlights. He told himself it was nothing. He'd slipped in the snow, freaked himself out, imagined the rest. People did weird things with Christmas decorations. Computers and smart plugs and apps. Maybe they turned all the lights up just as he was leaving. Maybe that glitter stuff was just from some yard decoration. He slept badly, waking up every hour, convinced there was a glow leaking around the edges of his curtains. The next morning at breakfast, his mom had the local news playing on her tablet. "Violation of safety codes," the reporter was saying. "Neighbors say the house has sat empty for years, and no one has been seen going in or out, despite the elaborate decorations." Mason froze. On the screen, the house on Pine Hollow Road glowed, just as it had the night before. A tiny banner at the bottom of the video read, "Town orders lights out at Miracle House." The reporter stood in front of the yard. Behind her, the nativity figures blurred slightly, too bright for the camera to focus on. City inspectors say no legal owner has come forward. They plan to shut off power to the house by midnight Christmas Eve. "Good," his stepdad said. "Waste of electricity anyway." His mom shushed him. "I think it's pretty." Mason stared. There was something different. He squinted at the screen, leaning closer. The baby in the manger. Last night, its eyes had been half open. Now, they were fully open. And they looked straight into the camera. He closed his eyes. When he opened them again, the segment had moved on to a story about a lost dog wearing a Christmas sweater. That afternoon, the missing posters went up. Mason saw them on the way home from the convenience store. 3 different faces, 3 different flyers, slapped on the same telephone pole, the tape overlapping. Missing, last seen. December 10th, missing, last seen. December 14th, missing, last seen. December 20th, names, ages, towns nearby, 2 girls and a boy, all around his age. He tried not to look too long, but his gaze kept snagging on the date. December 20th, last seen near Pine Hollow Road. When he got home, his mom had the news on again, volume low. There was talk about A possible link between the disappearances and the strange house, but no evidence, no forensic signs, no footprints, no fingerprints, no tire tracks. Nothing but lights. That night, he lay awake listening to the faint sound of carols drifting from his little sister's room, mixed with the whistle of wind under the eaves. At 2:17 a.m., his phone buzzed on his nightstand. He flinched. It was a notification from the town's neighborhood safety app his mom had made him install. Alert. Unauthorized electrical activity. Pine Hollow Road Power Company reports. Unexplained surge, despite line being cut at 11:58 p.m. The timestamp read December 24th, Christmas Eve. His mouth went dry. They'd cut the power. But the house was still drawing electricity, unless it wasn't drawing it from the grid. Something tugged at the edge of his thoughts. Christmas lights fishing. For what? For who? At 2:19 a.m., his bedroom filled with a faint, flickering glow. He turned his head slowly toward the window. The curtains were closed, but a white shine leaked through the fabric, bright enough to outline every wrinkle, every fold. It wasn't the moon. It wasn't a car. It was steady and too clean, like hospital lights, like the LEDs on Pine Hollow Road. His phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't the safety app. It was a text from an unknown number. He almost didn't open it. Then he saw the preview on his lock screen. A tiny thumbnail image. A house glowing in the snow. His thumb shook as he tapped it. The picture filled the screen. The house on Pine Hollow Road. Taken from the road, just like when he'd first seen it. Except now, the nativity scene was front and center. The figures were sharper, more detailed. The wise men had real beards now. The shepherds' robes looked like fabric instead of molded plastic, and the baby in the manger. He stopped breathing. It wasn't a baby anymore. The figure was bigger, maybe the size of a 5-year-old curled in the straw. Its limbs were too long for its body, knees folded up, arms wrapped around them. Its head was tilted to one side, features blurred, like the picture couldn't quite catch its face. But its eyes were clear. They were looking directly at him. Another text popped up. Come see the lights. No sender, no callback number, just the words. A third text appeared instantly. It's your turn. His heart hammered against his ribs so hard he thought it would bruise. He typed back with numb fingers. Who is this? For a long moment, nothing happened. Then a typing indicator appeared. 3 dots. Blinking. Longer than any normal person would take to respond. We are decorating. He stared. Another message blinked into existence. Every year we add more. His hands were shaking so badly he nearly dropped the phone. He thought of the missing posters, of their dates, of the way the nativity scene had looked on TV. More detailed, more filled out. Like it was growing, like it was using people. His phone buzzed again. Your house is too dark. He looked around his room. He had a small string of lights around his window. Little green Christmas tree bulbs his mom made him put up every year. Tomorrow, they'd take them down. Everything would go back into boxes. But tonight, they were off, the plug dangling. The glow around his curtains intensified, white bleeding through green fabric. Something scratched at the outside of the glass. Light leaked around the edges of the door now too, not from the hallway, but from the crack under it. Like someone was standing on the other side holding a floodlight. Except it didn't throw shadows. It swallowed them. His phone chimed one more time. Let us in. We'll make it beautiful. Every light in the house flicked on at once. He heard his little sister scream down the hall, his mom shout his name, his stepdad curse. Mason vaulted out of bed and yanked the door open. The hallway was washed in pale white, too bright, too flat. Their normal warm bulbs were gone, replaced by something cold. The framed family photos on the wall were blank, their colors bleached out. "Mom?" he shouted. No answer, just music, soft, distant, floating through the house. Silent Night played on what sounded like a children's music box. Slow, a half beat too lazy, like it might stop at any moment. He moved down the hall, his socks slipping on the hardwood. Every step echoed. The living room was full of light. The tree was glowing like it had swallowed a star. Every ornament gleamed perfect and new, even the ones that were chipped this afternoon. The plastic Santa his sister loved was standing taller, his face a little too realistic, eyes too glassy. His sister was sitting on the couch, hands folded in her lap. "Jess," he whispered. She turned her head toward him. Her eyes were wide and glassy, reflecting only white. No color, no pupils. Her mouth didn't move, but her voice came out anyway, thin and flat. "Come see the lights, Mason." His throat closed. The front window, which normally showed their quiet street and the neighbor's blue reindeer, showed something else. A house, wrapped in white lights. A yard where the snow wasn't really snow. A nativity scene with empty spaces. Waiting. He realized, with a cold, crawling horror, that he could see himself. In the glass. Standing in his own living room, bathed in that impossible light. The window wasn't showing outside. It was showing Pine Hollow Road. As if his house had been moved there. As if it had been chosen. The music box, Silent Night, wound down, the last note stretching too long, then snapping off. Everything went dark. For a heartbeat, there was nothing. No light, no sound, no house, no window, no sister. Then, slowly, gently, the lights came back on. Warm yellow, cozy. The TV was off. The tree was just a tree again. The plastic Santa was crooked like always. His mom slept, slumped in her armchair, the remote on the floor. His sister was curled up under a blanket, snoring softly. Mason stood in the doorway, shaking. His phone buzzed in his hand. One last text. "Merry Christmas, Mason. We'll try again next year." Attached was a photo. The house on Pine Hollow Road. The nativity scene in full detail. The angel. The wise men, the shepherds, the animals around the manger, and at the front of the scene, kneeling in the snow, hands pressed together in prayer, a new figure, recognizable, a boy with uncombed hair and a scared look frozen on his face. Him, except he was still standing in his living room, breathing. They hadn't gotten him. Not yet. He deleted the message, trembling. But the picture didn't disappear. The screen went black for a second, then the image faded back in, burned into the background like an after-image. No matter how many times he reset his phone, it stayed. Every Christmas after that, the house on Pine Hollow Road was dark. People said the city tore it down. Some said it was never really there. They put up a new development, a row of identical beige houses, all with tasteful wreaths and nice, normal lights. Families moved in. Kids played in the cul-de-sac. But some nights, way too late, if you drive past and catch the angle just right, you can see it. A house that doesn't match the others. Lights too bright. Snow too smooth. A nativity scene that seems to have one extra figure every year. And if your own house is a little too dark that December, if your decorations are packed away in a box and you think you'll skip it, you might get a text from an unknown number. Just 6 words. "Come see the lights. It's time." So if your phone buzzes at 2:17 a.m. this Christmas, do yourself a favor. Don't look at it. And whatever you do, don't go driving down Pine Hollow Road. Story 2. The Santa in the Static. Before we get into the second story, tell me in the comments where you're listening from. Your city, your state, or your country. I want to know exactly where these shadows are spreading. If you ever hear someone whisper your name through a Christmas song on the radio, turn it off. Because once it knows you heard it, it won't stop calling. Ellie loved Christmas noise, jingling bells in commercials, cheesy songs at the supermarket, neighbors blasting Mariah Carey like it was a legal requirement. She liked it all. The sound made the cold feel less empty. That's why the house felt wrong that year. Her dad was working nights. Her older brother was at his friend's house. Her mom had fallen asleep on the couch with a half-wrapped present in her lap. The TV was off. The only sound was the faint hum of the heater and the ticking of the hallway clock. December 23rd, 11:48 p.m. Too quiet. Ellie sat cross-legged on the living room floor, scrolling on her phone, the Christmas tree lights blinking in slow pulses beside her. The old radio on the shelf, an actual vintage radio her dad found at a yard sale, sat dark and quiet. They only turned it on at Christmas. It picked up this local station that played nothing but old carols and weirdly specific ads for places she'd never heard of. The sound was fuzzy, but her mom said that was part of the charm. Tonight it looked different. The dial, which was always a dead, dull plastic, seemed to have a faint glow under it, like someone had plugged it in and turned the volume all the way down. Ellie frowned. "Nah," she muttered. "Not falling for that." She didn't believe in haunted anything, but she did believe in her older brother, who lived to mess with her. He'd probably found some Bluetooth speaker and hidden it in the radio to scare her. She picked up the remote and turned on Netflix instead. The moment the Christmas comedy loaded and the noise filled the room, the radio clicked. A soft, crisp sound, like someone pressing an old-fashioned power button. Ellie froze. The comedy kept playing. Canned laughter echoed through the room. The radio dial glowed brighter, white at the edges, fading to red in the center. The volume knob twisted itself a fraction of an inch. Under the TV noise, under the heater, under the ticking clock, she heard static, soft at first, like distant wind. She turned the TV down. The static got louder, as if it were relieved to stretch its legs. Shh. Ellie's throat went dry. "Nice try, Ethan," she called toward the hallway. "Real subtle." No answer. She stood up slowly, watching the doorway, expecting her brother to jump out with his phone recording, ready for TikTok clout. Nothing. Just the static. The radio tuner moved on its own, the little red line sliding slowly across the numbers. 88, 92, 94. Each station it passed flickered in and out, snatches of real songs, real voices, rockin' around the Christmas tree. "Last Christmas, I gave you my heart," dashing through the snow. And then, as the line hit a blank part of the dial where no station should exist, the static stopped. Silence. Ellie's chest tightened. The heater shut off with a clunk, like the whole house was holding its breath. Then she heard it. A music box melody. Faint, tinny, warbling through the radio speaker. Jingle bells, played too slowly. Each note dragged out like it didn't want to end. She stepped closer without meaning to. The air around the radio felt colder, like the window was open, but it was shut tight, frost tracing the edges of the glass. The song played through to the chorus, then looped. Again, and again. And then, between one note and the next, she heard it. Her name. Ellie. Soft, drawn out, like someone exhaling through the speaker. The melody didn't stop. It kept going under the voice, like background music in a commercial. Ellie. She swallowed hard. Okay, Ethan, seriously, this is stupid. I'm not Ethan. The voice glided over the notes, so quiet she had to lean in to be sure she'd really heard it. It sounded close and far away at the same time, like a whisper through a long tunnel. Been waiting all night. Her hand twitched toward the power knob, then stopped. The knob turned by itself. Click. The music got louder. This house is quiet, the voice sighed. No songs, no laughter, no Santa, no cookies. Her heart hammered so loudly she could hear it in her ears. We like noise, Ellie, it said. It hides us. It keeps us close. She forced herself to move, stumbling backward until her leg hit the coffee table. I'm turning you off. You already tried, the voice said, amused. You turned the TV on. That helped. We nearly got in through the laugh track. The "we" made her stomach twist. Why? Why are you talking like that? She whispered. The song looped again, but the melody warped. Notes bending in the middle like someone pressing a finger into soft wax. Because you're the only one awake, it said, the only one listening, the only one who noticed the quiet. Static hissed around the words, fizzing in the corners of the room. Don't worry, it added cheerfully. We just want to visit. It's almost Christmas. People open their doors at Christmas. The radio speaker popped, the sound sharp enough to make her flinch. For a split second, the lights on the Christmas tree blinked off, then back on. Every bulb was now white. They'd been multicolored a second ago. Her mom loved multicolored lights. They didn't own a plain white set. The radio chuckled. The sound was wrong, like 3 laughs layered over each other. See? We're already inside. Ellie lunged for the outlet and yanked the radio's cord from the wall. The plug came free with a sputtering sound. The glowing dial did not go dark. The music did not stop. Electricity is just one door, the voice said, almost bored. We used that one first. Now we're using you. Her chest tightened, air suddenly heavy. The room dimmed around the edges, like someone was dragging a curtain over her vision. Static crawled in her ears, under her skin, buzzing in her fingertips. Everyone who hears us keeps a little piece, it hissed happily. We echo in you. We echo through you. On calls, on videos, on Christmas songs you hum without thinking. The idea hit her like cold water. If it gets into recordings, if it gets into phones, if it gets into the network, it isn't just in this house. Her phone buzzed on the coffee table. She didn't have to look to know what it was. A notification. Probably from TikTok. Definitely from somewhere loud. We're so close, the voice crooned. So many open ears. So many quiet houses with sleeping parents and glowing screens. The tree lights brightened. Every ornament reflected her face, stretched and warped. In each reflection, her mouth was open in a silent scream. Ellie did the one thing she could think of. She started to sing. Her voice came out shaky at first. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. The radio paused. Oh, what fun it is to ride! Static rose, uncertain. In a one-horse open sleigh. Hey! Her voice cracked on the last word, but she doubled down, singing louder, faster. Not the slow, careful version from the radio. The goofy version from elementary school with the extra, hey! Stop, the voice said. It didn't sound amused anymore. She kept going, switching songs mid-line. Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer. Frosty the snowman. Whatever her panicking brain could grab. Noise filled the room. Her voice. The heater kicking back on. The fridge humming to life in the kitchen. Somewhere in the house, her mom shifted and mumbled in her sleep. The static thinned. "You're off beat," the voice hissed. "You're out of tune." She howled the next line just to be annoying. The dial flickered, its glow shrinking like a dying ember. "Fine," the voice snapped. "Keep your house. Keep your noise. We'll find someone quieter." There was a sharp click. The music stopped. The dial went dark. The room snapped back into normal color. The tree lights returned to red, green, blue, gold. Ellie stood there, throat burning, lungs heaving. The radio sat on the shelf, unplugged. Old. Harmless. Her phone buzzed again. She picked it up with trembling fingers. A new notification from a random Christmas playlist on a streaming app. New holiday mix just for you. Under it, a line of tiny text. Now featuring live local recordings. She stared at the play button for a long time. Then she deleted the app. And if you think she was overreacting, remember, you weren't the one standing in your living room at midnight, listening to something in the static sing your name. So this year, when you're scrolling and your music app offers you a special Christmas mix, and the first track starts with a tiny bit of static, ask yourself, are you listening to the song? Or is something listening to you? Story 3. The Present on the Porch. If you ever find a Christmas present on your porch with no name, no tag, and no footprints in the snow leading up to it, don't bring it inside, because once you open it, it's not the only thing that comes in. Landon lived in the kind of neighborhood where everybody pretended they weren't watching each other, but they totally were. Perfect lawns, identical SUVs, HOA emails longer than school essays. They did neighborhood cookie swaps and synchronized "Turn on the Christmas lights" at 7 p.m. on December 1st, group chats, which is why the box stood out. It showed up on December 24th, just after sunset. Landon opened the front door to bring in a package his mom was waiting for, and there it was. A square box, medium-sized, wrapped in deep red paper. No Amazon logo, no shipping label, no to or from, no smudged marker. Just smooth paper and a black ribbon tied in a perfect bow. The weirdest thing? There were no footprints. Fresh snow had fallen that afternoon. His own footprints from earlier, when he'd gone out to adjust the plastic candy canes along the walkway, were still visible. But around the box, the snow was untouched, crisp, smooth, like the box had grown there. "Mom?" Landon called over his shoulder. "You order something bougie?" "What?" she yelled from the kitchen. "If it doesn't say my name, don't open it." He stepped out onto the porch, closing the door behind him to keep the cold out. The street was quiet. Christmas lights glowed on every house. The next-door neighbor's inflatable Santa did its slow, creepy sway in the wind. Somewhere, faintly, he could hear carols from somebody's TV. Landon nudged the box with his boot. It was solid, heavy. The paper was strangely warm under his fingers, like it had been sitting in the sun. He flipped it around. No tag on any side. A white SUV drove past, slowing for a second like the driver was rubbernecking the decorations, then rolled on. Landon picked up the box. Underneath, the snow was untouched. No square patch, no melted spot, just perfect white. He swallowed. He could go back inside and pretend he never saw it. But it was already in his hands. And honestly, his brain had already gone there. What if it's money? What if it's some kind of contest? What if it's from the old guy 3 houses down who always talked about surprising the kids at Christmas? He brought the box inside. The warmth hit him as soon as he shut the door. His mom bustled past with a tray of cookies, planted a kiss on his cheek, and barely glanced at the box. Put that by the tree. We'll sort them later, she said. But it's not. Later, Lan. His little cousin raced through the living room with a toy car, screaming a Christmas song off-key. Someone's phone was ringing. His uncle yelled from the garage about the broken snowblower. By the time the chaos settled and the relatives left, it was late. Landon's parents went to bed. The house went quiet in that heavy way houses do on Christmas Eve. Tree lights clicked into their sleep mode. The heater hummed. He lay on the couch, scrolling, but his eyes kept drifting to the box under the tree. Still no tag. Still wrapped perfectly. Still wrong. He sighed, sat up, and dragged it toward him. His fingers slipped under the ribbon. The bow came loose without resistance, the black ribbon sliding away like water. He peeled the paper back slowly. Underneath was a plain wooden box with a sliding lid. No lock, no hinges, just a small groove for his fingers. He told himself if it was weird, he'd just take it outside, throw it away, say he found it that way. He slid the lid open. Inside was a small snow globe, clear glass, wooden base, no label. He lifted it out carefully. At first, it looked ordinary. Tiny house, tiny pine tree, tiny fence. No people. Just a scene. Then he realized the house inside the globe looked exactly like his. Same roofline, same front porch, same crooked little tree in the yard. His stomach dropped. He turned the globe in his hands, looking for some kind of brand name. Nothing. The base was blank. The snow wasn't flakes. It was fine, shimmering dust. He shook it. The dust swirled inside, thick and slow. For a second, the windows of the tiny house glowed faintly, like there was a candle burning in each room. The heater in the real house shut off with a soft thunk. The room felt colder. Landon swallowed. "Okay, that's enough," he muttered. He set the globe on the coffee table and reached for the wooden box to put it back. The globe moved, not rolled, slid, half an inch toward him, like someone had nudged it from the far side. He stared. His reflection in the glass looked wrong, stretched and pale. Behind the tiny version of his house, in the background of the snow globe, something flickered. There was another shape there now. A tree that hadn't been there before. Taller than the little pine. Too thin. Its branches didn't look like branches. They looked like arms. He blinked hard. When he opened his eyes, the tree was closer to the house. He hadn't shaken it. He hadn't moved. The living room lights flickered, dimmed, then steadied. From somewhere deep in the house, he heard a soft creak, like a door he hadn't opened, just shifted in its frame. He grabbed his phone with one hand and the snow globe with the other, intending to record it, prove to himself it was some trick of his eyes. The moment his phone's camera app opened, the screen went black. Just black. No icons, no buttons, no anything. Then, slowly, an image appeared. Not from his camera. It wasn't his living room, it was a zoomed-in view of the snow globe. The tiny house filled the screen. In one of the tiny windows, there was now a figure, small, standing still. A smudge of darkness where no darkness should be. Landon's breath came shallow and fast. He heard it then, a faint, muffled tapping. Not at the front door, from somewhere higher. He turned his head toward the real window. Nothing there, just darkness and the reflection of the tree lights. The tapping came again. This time, closer, sharper. He realized it wasn't coming from the walls, or the roof, or the glass. It was coming from the snow globe. He lifted it. The tiny house inside shook with each tap, like something was knocking on its miniature door. Tap, tap, tap. His phone screen zoomed in again, all on its own. until one tiny window filled the display. Behind the glass, a pale oval pressed close. A face. No features, just blank white, like it hadn't decided what it wanted to look like yet. The tapping stopped. His phone buzzed in his hand. A text box slid onto the screen, as if he were in a chat with someone. "Can we come in now?" No number, no contact, just the message, floating over the snow globe image. His heart slammed against his ribs. He looked back at the snow globe itself. The tiny front door of the tiny house was now open a crack. A sliver of blackness showed inside, thick and slow like spilled ink. In the real house, something creaked at the top of the stairs. "Mom," he croaked. No answer. He did the only thing he could think of. He stood up, walked to the front door, yanked it open, and stepped out onto the porch with the snow globe. The cold hit him hard, but he welcomed it. The real, earthly bite of winter. The neighborhood was quiet. All the houses glowed gentle and normal. He set the globe on the porch railing. "Wrong house," he whispered, voice shaking. "Wrong house, wrong guy. Pick somebody else." The wind picked up, swirling flakes around his bare ankles. In the globe, the tiny house's door swung wider. The blank face in the window turned. For one horrible second, he felt something looking at him. Not through the glass, but from behind his own eyes, checking his shape, measuring his fear. His phone buzzed again. Another message. "We don't need your permission." The tiny tree things behind the mini-house were closer now. More of them. Leaning. His fingers were numb, from cold and terror. He grabbed the snow globe, pulled his arm back, and hurled it as far as he could into the dark. The globe arced through the air and disappeared into the snowy yard across the street with a faint crunch. No shatter, no sound of glass, just gone. The phone screen went white, then rebooted itself. When it came back on, everything was normal. No messages, no ghostly camera feed, just his usual clutter of apps. Inside, the heater kicked on again. His mom called sleepily, "Landon, close the door. You're letting the heat out." Christmas morning came. Presents, pancakes, noise. By noon, it was almost like the night hadn't happened. Almost. When he stepped outside later to grab something from the car, he saw it. Across the street, in his neighbor's yard, half buried in the snow, a square box wrapped in deep red paper. Perfect black ribbon. No tag. No footprints. The neighbor's porch light clicked on as he watched, spilling a warm circle over the snow. Their front door opened. A little girl stepped out, rubbing her eyes, wearing Christmas pajamas. She saw the box. Her face lit up. "Nope," Landon whispered, backing toward his own house. "Nope, nope, nope." He shut his door firmly and locked it. Because here's the thing that keeps him up every Christmas Eve. He never told anyone about the globe. Never posted about it. Never texted it. But whatever was inside that glass knows exactly where he lives. And gifts can be redelivered. So if you find a perfect red present on your porch this Christmas, no tag, no tracks, no explanation, and you're thinking, "Hey, free gift, why not?" Ask yourself, are you opening the present, or is the present opening you? If you're still here with the lights low and your volume just a little too high, you're my kind of person. Before you scroll away, tell me in the comments which country or state you're listening from and which of the 3 Christmas stories messed with your head the most. Hit like if you want more late-night stories, subscribe if you're brave enough to come back, and turn on the bell. Because the next time something knocks at your door on Christmas Eve, you'll want to know whether it's just a neighbor or something that heard you listening to Shadow Whisper.